This is a Golden Age comic book called Cookie, number 29. I guess this is sort of teenage humor type stuff. I hadn't read this one. Been selling these comic books, and a lot of them I haven't read, so I wanted to make a little video record of them for whatever reason. I'm obsessive compulsive, I guess. Somebody out there may enjoy these one day. Keep a historical record of pop culture. Forgotten pop culture. This is 1950. And I'm going to be listening to a podcast while I do this to kill two birds at one stone. So I'm about to turn it on. And it's from an atheist podcast show, so if that offends you, you can turn the sound down and look at this comic book if you want. Not that I really give a shit if it offends you. But so this is like a kiddie comic. Let me turn on this podcast here.
Into an apology.
Obviously.
I'm surprised he had knowledge of shame. He acknowledged that his comments were ignorant and born of ignorance, and that he was sorry that he'd said him, and that his views were not necessarily what he had expressed. I don't believe him. I think he's a fucking liar. I think he's been coached. I think he is a hateful little bigot. And he spoke his mind, figuring, hey, I'm going to show my machismo, and he got caught. And now you're seeing the sorriness of somebody who got caught. I hope he has a change of heart on the subject, and I hope that someday he really realizes just what an ignorant fuck he really is. But going on, it turned into this big deal, and then he gets invited on Anderson Cooper, and of course he's going to apologize as best he can. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because now at that point,
the nation to hate me.
At that point, he was getting death threats, and he had been, once you become the target of everybody's hatred, and you're told by the people that you know and love that you are now a bad representative of us, right? That'll change you.
And I want to say, do not send people death threats. I think that's terrible form. But at the same time, with all the talk that's been going on in the last few months, like partly stemming from Phil Platt's "Don't Be a Dick" speech, and and other sort of more timid atheists or skeptics coming out and saying, oh, don't be mean, don't ridicule people. This is the kind of thing where ridicule is absolutely called for and has an effect.
Yeah.
And it's not, and the point of ridicule is not to win over the guy, not to gain his apology, but to make it absolutely clear that sort of assholery is not appropriate in polite society.
Right.
And deserves ridicule.
Yeah. Man. It's like, but I suspect, rather than a, sincere apology, he talked to a guy who knew something about PR.
Yeah.
And, cynically.
So there's a Gallup poll that says religious people have a higher, healthier life, I guess, have a higher well-being.
Well, they have a huge social network.
Yeah.
That's every Sunday.
That is the speculation for the biggest difference, because when you look at, they break it down, the difference between very religious and non-religious, very religious, moderately religious, non-religious, and they break it down by life evaluation index, which to me sounds like them evaluating how much they enjoy their life. which I would write off as blissful ignorance. I think that among the non-religious people, you would have a better understanding, perhaps, because you are actually facing reality on reality's terms.
Yes.
With roughly how happy you are in relation to how happy you could be. You know, this whole idea of was I happier when I was a Christian? I certainly thought I was. But when I look back at it, I could see that I would have answered very highly.
Yeah.
You're,
Well, they
you're
need to-
lucky, though. I mean, you've got. I mean, first of all, not all atheists can be hosts of an internationally popular television show. I mean, you and I and Dennis, we all have a sort of supportive network of people we know that enrich our lives.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, like, I mean, Leo just earlier mentioned,
Right.
everybody around him thinks he's wrong and going to hell, and
Yeah.
that's got to take its toll.
Yeah, I
on-
would
on
imagine.
some people.
I would imagine he is possibly less happy overall and would have answered less happy overall. But it doesn't have any. It's not. The link that some people are wanting to make is that religions make people happier because there's some truth to the religion. And I would argue that to the extent that religions do make people happier, it's because of secular reasons. You were talking
Right.
about the social network,
Yeah.
the fact that you're not ostracized, the fact that you're part of the majority.
And they can do the
You
same
don't get
poll.
people praying loudly at you
Yeah.
in churches while you're trying to vote.
And they can do the same poll concerning pot or alcohol and get similar results, I'll bet.
Well, there is actually a quote that I've appreciated for many years by George Bernard Shaw that seems perfectly tailored to this study, which is, the fact that a believer is happier than a skeptic is no more to the point than the fact that a drunken man is happier than a sober one.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think there's a combination of factors. I have no problem at all with, the results. A lot of it is self-assessment, and, when you ask somebody to assess how happy they are, you're going to get
A lot of factors.
Some of it's going to be accurate, and some of it's going to be limited by their understanding of happiness, and some of it's going to be, in the case of, for example, Mormons are coached to always answer
Right.
questions like that with the highest happiness, no matter what they're actually feeling.
Yeah.
They are to give a particular image in order to benefit.
What you are expected to respond.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, is that what the study did? It just asked people, how happy are you?
No.
Okay.
There were a number of different factors: life evaluation, emotional health index, physical health index, healthy behaviors index, work environment index, and then a basic access index.
Those
But
are
it- but it
impressive,
was
but they don't
basically
actually
a
tell us
survey.
anything.
One at a time.
Oh, sorry.
But it was basically a survey for where people
Yeah.
make their own answers.
I think that there may have been more to it than just, well, when you're asking about people's health, yes, you are polling them on their health, but the difference in health was not. Well, I'm gonna have to look at it because the difference in health was the biggest one between very religious and non-religious. So we'll have to look into it some more. But in any case, if we were to find, as I've said before, let's keep everything that's good in religion or wherever we find it and get rid of the bad.
Uh-huh.
If we were to find that being religious actually made people healthier and happier and better off, then what we need to do next is investigate and come to learn exactly why that is. Because there's a number of reasons it could be. One, it could be because they're right and there's some God that is,
Uh-huh.
actually benefiting their life. Number two is that there is something about the social structure of religion that benefits their life. It could also be that the religious ideas skew their understanding and perception of their life and well-being, and it could be that there's deception involved. But this is a poll, and we have, on the other hand, in the Journal of Religious, I forget the name, the poll we've cited about a bazillion times, where we actually measure religiosity versus societal health for real factors. Now we're not polling people; we're actually going to find out what is your access to health care, how wealthy are you, how all of these different factors that go into the culture that you're living in. And what we find is that non-religious societies outscore I mean, it's inversely.
So in other words,
Relation.
what you're saying is that non-religious people in this very religious society are generally unhappier, but societies that are less religious tend to be happier, or at least in some way healthier.
Healthier. That's the
Non-religious societies score better on measures of societal health, right down everything from healthcare and general well-being all the way down to lower rates of murder, etc.
Yeah, I think a big factor in it is that if you've got your religious faith, you don't have any self-doubt, and if you don't have any self-doubt, yeah, you're happier. you're hosed, but you're happier.
I don't know that religious people actually don't experience self-doubt. It's just that they work harder to suppress it. I mean,
Or at least to present
you remember, even Mother Teresa was not immune from
that's true.
from
That's
those
true.
effects. And, when I listen to shows where Christians are talking to each other and giving each other advice, so no atheists involved, they also, a very frequent theme is, I know I'm supposed to believe so-and-so, but it's hard sometimes.
Right.
And then the guy inevitably tells them, here, read this nice inspirational thing, which will make you feel better.
So we're preparing our war on Christmas.
Yeah, gear up.
That's a joke, Darks.
Come on, man. Heart.
I'm preparing my war on Christmas by we're gonna book a flight to go visit my family and exchange gifts and eat and things like that. I don't know what anybody else is doing, but that's my biggest plan for the war on
No
Christmas.
mercy.
All right, I've got the court-martial ready.
All right, but American Atheists is putting up their first billboard, and it's wow. I love it.
Interesting.
I love it and I hate it a little bit, but I mostly love it.
It's definitely a new atheist.
It shows a little manger. It's all done in silhouette. A little manger with a donkey, and then what's obviously Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus, and then 3 wise men on camels coming up, and a big star above it. And the text says, it's a myth. This season, celebrate reason. Now,
American Atheists, reasonable since 1963.
epistemologically, I don't know that we're we're justified in saying we know it's a myth. I would say that we are convinced beyond measure.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Which is good
convinced
enough for
beyond
now,
measure,
for me.
but I don't think it would be a fair statement to say that everybody who sees this billboard
Yes.
will know it's a myth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I could say I know it's a myth in the colloquial sense, but the average person seeing that billboard is going to be absolutely livid.
I'm afraid so.
Because here they are getting ready for Christmas, and you've got a big billboard up that's saying the birth of your Savior story is a myth. I got to give him kudos for that. Dave Silverman.
Well, I mean, it takes some balls, yeah.
Well, at least it's not a poster of a guy pointing a gun at you.
Dave Silverman, though, did the right thing and pointed out that the billboard is targeting people who go through the motions of celebrating the holidays but don't actually believe in the Christ myth. Many people, this is a quote from him, many people follow religions and observe rituals in which they do not believe. They go along to get along, which simply leads to more prejudice and bigotry. Closeted atheists hurt themselves and others like them by remaining silent about what they know to be true. None of the traditional Christmas seasonal practices originate with Christianity. What we call Christmas has its origins in secular events like the winter solstice and the change of the season, as well as pagan holidays like Yule. This season was celebrated long before Christianity usurped it. And he's absolutely right. Though it's only one teeny tiny little thing, a little caveat. And Dave, I love you, but I got to do this. Yes, the people who are going along to get along do hurt themselves and others by remaining silent. But we're not yet at the point where everybody can reasonably be vocal and out about their atheism. I wish we were. And I will encourage people who are comfortable in being